G'day everybody, I'm here with Daniel Featherston of the SR Collective. We're here to talk about the team champs, and we're excited to have him on because Daniel's been around for a little while, actually under a different team in previous years, which we're going to go into in a moment. But first off, just welcome. Hello, Dan.
G'day, JP. How are you?
I'm very good, thanks. I'm good, and like I said, glad to have you here. For the people out there in the internet world that might not know who you are, do you want to introduce yourself and a little bit about what the little project that you guys have got going on there?
Yeah, g'day. So my name's Daniel Featherston. Some people know me as Chunky Boy Prime over Instagram. I think I've kind of held that title for a while now. Some people actually don't even know my actual name is Daniel, which is, I think it's pretty cool. That's when you know you made it. But currently, I'm one of the head coaches at SR Strength Collective in Altona North, alongside Jaden Rowe and Edgar DeGay. We opened up probably, I think it was about 6 months ago, maybe was it April last year. And yeah, we've been running ever since, just in the inner west. So we are really more powerlifting based gym, but we do have a bit of a base in both bodybuilding and just personal training. But yeah, we opened up about last year just because we wanted to have a space in the inner west for our guys who were training at just local gyms, our online guys. And we just wanted to kind of build a community that was not currently there, that I didn't really have when I started powerlifting in the Altona area. But yeah, it's been running pretty well. We've got a few guys coming down. We obviously have a team coming to Team Champs. So we're really keen to see what happens this year, and we're really keen to bring a team to Team Champs because I reckon that's really going to put us on the map more than we currently are, and just really keen to get a competition in with our full team.
Cool, man. So, yeah, I mean, like you guys have been open for less than a year. Like you said, you just opened last year, and you've already got a meet signed. I think you've got a meet that you're going to host, and obviously you guys are in the team champs. But just because you guys have started recently doesn't mean that you've just started recently. I know that prior you were at the university, Melbourne University Powerlifting Club.
Yes. I still am at Melbourne University just as a part-time gig, but it's been slowing down a little bit for me. Mostly just the students there have been building themselves up a lot more. I'm just currently there just as a bit of a helper, just someone there to make sure that the club runs well.
Cool. And so the three of you run SI Collective. It's you, Jaden, and Edgar, right?
Yes, correct.
And to remind me, what does SR stand for? Am I forgetting really something obvious?
No. It's a bit of a mixture of I guess all of our ideas for the name. So me and Jaden really wanted to bring in Strength Collective. We thought it was obviously Strength Collective. It was a really powerful name. Edgar really wanted to bring in his old name of Synchronicity Resistance. So we kind of merged together to be a bit of all us three, So which is usually what partners do. They kind of like put their bit of everything of themselves into the one business. So I think Edgar really wanted to kind of have a very unique name, when me and Jaden kind of wanted to have a very, I guess, powerful, simple name. So we kind of merged together to create SR Strength Collective, or SRSC.
Right. It's funny you actually say that, because a funny story is when we were collecting payments for Team Champs entries, and a payment came through from Synchronicity Resistance, whatever. Yeah. And I was like, "Who the hell is this?" Like, I'm so confused. Like, I'm going through all the clubs, like thinking, "Who could this be?" I googled it, like Instagrammed it. Eventually, I pieced it all together, and I realized by process of elimination, it must be these guys. But that's what the payment came under through. I was very confused. But that makes a lot of sense now that you say that.
Yeah, you thought you bought in a different team, didn't you?
I was like, who's just handing me money? Like, who's just sending $500? This is
You'll
great.
take it, but you have to figure out who it came from. So
yeah, that's funny. Okay, cool. And so, you guys are competing at our team champs, which we're obviously very excited for, and it's only 6 weeks away or so.
Yeah, very close.
Talk us through your team. So, if I'm not mistaken, it's Edgar is actually the head coach.
Yes, correct. So Edgar's head coach. He's had a lot more experience in powerlifting than I have, so I have all faith in him to be head coach. But I'm going to be there as a handler. And currently we have our 4 people in our team as Maddie Villani in the 67 females, Jaden Rowe in the 75, Maddie Cohen in the 82s, and Yash Sharma in the 90s. So we have basically all 3 of our coaches in and present on the day, which is something we really wanted to make sure happened. We didn't really want to have one of us miss out on this opportunity. So it was going to be one of us competing. And I think, well, I know the best person to compete on the
Cool.
day
And
is definitely
so
Jaden.
you guys are competing on what is essentially our Challengers Day, right? So our day one. And it's going to be a really, really hotly contested day. Actually, it's going to be like a really, really good day of lifting. Some of the weight classes are really deep. I want you to actually talk us through a little bit about the 4 lifters you've chosen. You said, I think, 2 of you are the coaches, right? You and Jaden. And I want you to talk us through a little bit about who they are, their background, how you've kind of picked the whole team, and just a little bit more information there would be nice.
Yeah. So when we were looking at the teams, we we're obviously looking at some of the unpopular weight classes because we wanted to make sure that we go in there in the best possible situation because there's going to be some absolute guns going into each and every weight class. So we did choose, in terms of Maddie, Matt, and Yash, we were putting them in there and sussing the scope of, the populated weight classes and where we're at and stuff like that. So right now we have obviously chosen probably 2 of the most populated, well, actually 3 of the most populated weight class for 3 of our guys. But we're still kind of assessing the situation there and assessing whether or not those ones are actually going to be, people going to change up or down or move left and right. Because I know for a fact there's going to be a lot of changes coming in the next few weeks, so 21 days out. So we're still assessing the scope there and whether or not we need to change any of our guys from different weight classes or anything like that. But I think I know for a fact we're in a very good situation to be able to do that. So we're pretty safe there. And I know for a fact that we're safe there. In terms of Jaden, he is in a very unpopulated weight class in the 75 males. But honestly, regardless of how many people go into that weight class, I have all the faith that that man can do some serious damage in that weight class. So I cannot wait to see, because it's been a while since he's competed in a USAPL comp. I think last year he competed, actually TSF, he competed at the 6th or 5th birthday bash. I can't remember which one it was. But this man is honestly, he's gone gangbusters with his training. He's gone gangbusters with his strength. And he actually recently competed in an Olympic weightlifting comp. So he's doing every competition under the sun this year. It's going to be crazy to see what he does. But in terms of him, he's going to go crazy, and it's good to have him there at the time because as a coach, he can obviously lend some assistance alongside us, when he's competing at the same time. So it's kind of a little bit of a sneaky thing that we can do there. But obviously, Eddie, head coach, so he's going to do most of the stuff on the day. But yeah, that's our
You
team.
don't want to dob yourself in.
Say that again, sorry.
You don't want to dob yourself in, get yourself into trouble.
No, don't want to dob myself. So, but in terms
am I right that Jaden trains at Melbourne West Barbell Club?
Yes, he does. Yeah, he does.
Yeah.
He competed for them. I think it was 2 weeks ago.
Right.
Not last weekend, but the week after.
Because they're like your neighbors, right? They're like in the same building, same complex.
Across the road, man. So that's why he chose them, because they're just across the road. He goes there and then he comes back and starts coaching. So works well for him. Yeah. So with our guys, Maddie, Matt, Yash, basically all our team, we wanted to bring in guys that really represented the collective. And again, our main goal coming into this competition is to show us as a team, show us as, I guess, the collective. And we really wanted to choose some guys that really represented that. And definitely those guys, Maddie, Matt, Yash, they're definitely coming in there with what we want to represent as a team. Maddie hasn't competed before, but Matt and Yash have. They actually competed at a WRPF comp start of last year, something like that. So it's going to be pretty new for them coming into this type of competition and this type of environment that they're coming into, because it is a lot different, WRPF all the way to USAPL. But they're definitely what we need currently for our team. So I'm really keen to see what those guys are going to do. But yeah, there's definitely some really hard shooters coming into this competition. So we really want to make sure that we play it smart. But I've got 2 other heads here that can help me out with this stuff. We've already got the spreadsheets going. We've already got the different types of situations that we can play, plan A, plan B, plan C. So we're definitely in a situation where we could go down different roads. But the predictability of it is going to be a little hard because obviously 21 days out, that's when everyone's going to change their stuff. So we'll just have to wait and see. We're definitely talking, in our meetings about should we do this, should we do that. But I reckon the team that we currently have, it's going to be what they're going to help us with the goal that we have, and it's just representing the collective coming into this competition. But very keen to see what these guys are going to do.
Cool. I like that you said what your goal is specifically there. I don't know if you caught the interview that I had with Vinay of Avia just last week, and in that I kind of asked him. We talked about switches and swapping lifters out, and I asked him, how do you go about having a conversation with one of your lifters and saying, hey, look, we've had a review and we think that it'll be better if someone else lifts in your place. You've kind of talked about potentially having to do some swaps as well. Is that the kind of conversation that you're excited to have, or not excited is not the right word, but you're willing to have? Or do you feel like, you kind of want to be loyal to the guys you've already named and just have them lift? And if it means that you're at a disadvantage, then so be it. Because it sounds like on one hand, making swaps sounds like a very competitive driven decision, whereas it sounds like your goals are more surrounding, representing the collective and just like putting yourselves out there. And, they almost sound like a little bit conflicting. Like, do you kind of see what I'm saying, or what's your interpretation of that?
I 100% see what you're saying. So in terms of our goal of representing the collective, 100%, like, it's a bit conflicting if we were to change anyone. But in terms of from the very get-go, everyone knew that there's a potential of a change, 100%. Like, when you start from the start, you explain what type of competition this is. It's representing a team. And it's just because those 4 people are on the team doesn't mean they're not a part of it. Like, if they get swapped out. And the collective is the team. It's not just those 4 people. So that's what we really kind of explained it as in that situation, that, there's going to be subs, there's going to be this, there's going to be that. And, from the chats that I've had with people, even before we got this team together, originally, we had a couple of other people in it because we thought that they would be the best situation. They knew from the very get-go that it wasn't going to be 110%. So when you have that conversation with your lifters, you can't just tell them you're in. You have to make sure that they understand what type of a situation that they're in. They have to understand that, okay, this is a team sport. People get subbed in, subbed out. Sometimes the best players aren't the people that you're going to put on the field. It's not how the team is put together. You make the smart decisions. You scope the field, you scope what is happening, and then you make those smart decisions. Obviously, if you have the best lifter in the world, yeah, you put them in there regardless of what weight class they're in. But in this type of situation, you've got some people that can go head to head, and they're the best people in those people's roster. So do you make the smart decision and put in maybe someone that's a little bit not as strong, but they have an unpopular weight class? Or are you just going to be, because you need to represent yourself at full strength, you need to make sure you put that person in there? It's not necessarily the case. So in terms of the conversation that, we've had and that everyone else should have with their lifters, they should understand that the idea is that you might need to change it out. So, because I remember I did see, you asked a few people that, and I was listening to it and I'm like, it shouldn't be that hard. You should be able to explain this to your lifters without thinking, oh, are they going to get upset or whatever? Or because it's not necessarily that you're being, unfair or unloyal to them. You're just, you're explaining to them that this is the best way to, get into there and be competitive. So it's a matter of you open and honest communication between you and the lifters, and they should totally understand. So, but because I remember you talking about that with a few lifters or a few coaches, and I was just thinking, I'm like, it's an easy situation.
Yeah, I mean, like that's sorry to cut you off, but I was just going to say, like, that's like very interesting, like I guess position there, because it is in contrast to what a couple of people have said. Like I said, Vinay said the other day, but I kind of can't help but agree with you in some sense. It's obviously it can be a bit difficult, but I can see what you're saying there, because you're really taking on the spirit of this competition and what it means to be competitive, and what it means to represent your club, and what it means to actually get the best result possible. You said that your goals for the competition is to represent the collective well. Would you say that a secondary goal would be to get promoted and lift in the Premier Division the year after?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, no, that's why we obviously had the conversation with the guys at the start. So if we can make better selections or better decisions, and like I think if we were to change or anything, you'll be really surprised with what we're actually changing. But if we were to do that, it would be 100% to be promoted, because I think, look, I'm not going to lie, the Chads did put a spanner in the works. We were going to be in a really good position until they popped their heads in, but we were obviously from the very start when we put our team in or when we got invited, we were like, how do we win this? How do we go in there and how do we win this? But obviously, when the teams were nominated, when the Chads inevitably came in, when all these things happened, we were like, okay, let's create realistic goals for a realistic outcome. You know, let's not just be like, oh, how are we going to win? Are we going to ask a bunch of random lifters that we know are good, but not under our roster? Is that what we want to do? No, that's not what we want to do, because that's not what's representing our goal of representing the collective. You know, so we decided that, okay, first goal, represent the collective, get in there, show our faces, you know, show how much fun we have and stuff like that. But then also, let's get promoted, because we can have that other goal of being promoted. And I guess that's what's the benefit of this competition. You can have multiple goals. You can go in there and try and win Div 1 or Div 2, and then you can be promoted, and then you can do this, and then you can do that. So, because I remember, you know, kind of having, you know, I guess we flipped the switch where instead of we're like, how do we come first overall out of everyone, to how do we get promoted and how do we play the long game? Because that's what we really want to do. We want to play the long game. We want to show that we are here to stay. We're not just going in there, winning the $1 million that you're putting up there and then leaving. No, we want to be there and we want to show that we are a growing force. That's our main goal. So, and I think this is our opportunity to do so.
Yeah, I mean, I like what you said there about playing the long game, and that's kind of one of the key, I guess, outcomes that I wanted when I created this system with the Premier bracket and the Challengers bracket, was to create a system that would encourage, I guess, like previous success. You know, you've mentioned the Chads there, which we're going to talk about them in a second. They seem to be all talk of the town.
I thought I got away from them,
but you know, you can have a superstar team turn up, but you've got to start in the Challengers bracket, and so that way it kind of protects, in some small way, the teams that have shown previous success and rewards them for that success. Because, you know, one thing I've said in a previous podcast is each competition result is independent of the previous one. And so if you win nationals this year, that doesn't benefit you in any way for the next year. And
yeah,
whereas I would love a system where there was some sort of benefit. Of course, you don't want an unfair advantage, but some sort of benefit to playing well. I remember when I was in Spain and I watched a game, it was Valencia versus Valladolid, and it was like in the La Liga, like the soccer over there. And I think it was like, it's a 20 team competition, and I think it was like 15th versus 17th. And so, like, naturally you would think 15th versus 17th, it's not going to be a very good quality game. One, the quality of the game is really good, but most importantly, they were fighting to avoid relegation, right? The bottom three teams get relegated. And so there was a lot of passion in the game. There was a lot of like emotion and a lot of like, it mattered a lot, you know, it mattered a lot to these teams. And I'm not saying that's the moment that inspired me, but I think of stories like that where I'm like, you know, what I want is that there is a reason to fight, and you go, okay, we can't win. We're not going to win the day, so what's the point in trying? Well, there's still something to try for. There's still something to fight for, and that's something that I really want to encourage. You said earlier, I just want to backpedal quite almost to the start, that, you know, obviously the Strength Collective is relatively new, less than a year old, and that this is the kind of competition that might put you guys on the map. What do you mean by that, and how do you kind of see that? How do you see an event like this, you know, like this multi-team kind of event, impacting your business and impacting the culture that you have at the gym?
Yeah, so you probably, I don't know if you mentioned this over here, but I coached at last year's team champs with Melbourne University, and I actually reckon it was because of team champs last year that people actually knew about me. So I think it was after team champs last year, you know, people came up and kept saying hi. They're like, "Hey Chunks," or "Hey Dan," or whatever, and they remembered me from that last comp, and they remembered me from more comps coming up. So, like, even if we weren't invited to team champs this year, we would still be present in comps, and we would still be, you know, known at other gyms, and then slowly kind of being more and more known. But I reckon this comp with multiple teams. You have some of the biggest gyms in Melbourne, a couple of gyms in Queensland and stuff like that, and it's really kind of like a fast track to be like, okay, all these gyms are, they have to research every single gym. You already know Melbourne strength culture. They're going to choose this, that, this, that. But they have to research some gyms that they might not have heard of. And it might be our gym. It might be our gym that they're like, okay, let's research about Collective. Let's learn about them. And then they start to, understand, okay, this is what they're about. And then they come and meet us in person. And that's kind of putting us on the map. That's, creating that connections, networking, I guess. So that's what is another benefit to us. We've already won going in there, that people start to, know us more and more. So it's allowing us.
For example, that I know that we've got 22 teams in this year's competition, which is the most we've ever had. And I've actually had so much interest. I've had so many personal trainers, coaches contact me saying, hey, can we still put in a team? Hey, can we put in a team?
Yeah.
And I think part of that is obviously it's a fun event and all that kind of stuff, and they just want to be involved. But I think also being able to kind of hang with these other clubs that are a bit more well known, like you said, like Strength Culture, us, it's like we're clubs that are well known in the powerlifting circles and industry. And so by kind of being involved, it's kind of like, hey, we're in the same league as you guys, like we're hanging out. And it's just a great way to network. And I think networking is one of the key outcomes that I've really wanted to gain out of this comp and have, promote all the other brands, promote SI Collective. Like you said, people are doing research, finding out who they are. If I've got a client that says, hey, I can't train at your gym anymore because I'm moving to Altona, I'm like, great, go train with Dan and Eddie. Those guys and Jaden, those guys are fucking legends. It's like, and vice versa, right? So creating those kinds of networks and those circles is, super important for me as well.
Yeah, and you really opened up the community more and more by doing this, and especially with USAPL being sanctioned by USAPL, it is like, currently with USAPL, we are a really Victorian kind of based federation. But by creating competition interstate, you've just opened up the doors there. So it's a really good opportunity, not only for us as singular gyms, but to grow the federation itself, which will therefore grow the gyms even more and more, So it's a really great opportunity currently.
Yeah, cool. No, I'm like I've said this 1,000 times. I'm just so excited, man. It's like 6 weeks away or 7 weeks away.
So keen,
whatever
man.
it is.
So keen.
And it's going to come so quick. Like it's happening so suddenly, but it's going to be such a fun weekend. Now you mentioned the Chads, who just seem to keep coming up in every bloody podcast I'm doing, and I think they're loving it. And I think you're loving it too. For those that don't know, you put up a little Instagram story that I saw yesterday or the day before.
Sorry, I'm a really big.
Was very interesting. Yeah. Basically, I think the line that I loved was, "Who the fuck are you?" And it was them.
I don't know why, but I think
Do you have personal beef with anyone in the Chads?
Not the Chads. No, look. I'm gonna say I have more beef with 3PP, but I'm not gonna go into that just yet. But look, I'm a really big fan of wrestling, of WWE, and I really appreciate a good heel. Do you understand what a heel means? I don't know if you're no. Okay, so it's a bad guy. So when you when you learn about WWE and wrestling and stuff like that, and you learn there's the baby face and there's the heel. That you need those two characters to create a story. And if it's not, if it's not for the heel, if you can't play a good heel, you're not a good wrestler. So. And I really appreciate what these guys are doing. They understand where they're at. Look, they're great. They're fantastic powerlifters. They're talented as hell. And I cannot really stress that enough. But they know that they're that. And it's great that they do, because they can really play on people's emotions like that. And that's what a good heel does. It's fantastic. And I love it. And again, that's why I kind of made that meme yesterday, is because it's kind of built it up a little bit. So, but they're doing a really good job at playing the heel. And I really look, I think it's just Remy who's doing that. So shout out to him. But they're doing a really good job at playing the heel, and I cannot love it any more than that. Like it's something that I don't think there's enough of in powerlifting currently.
Yeah, I don't know if you remember, but when they first made their TSF team champs, like Instagram page, whatever, the Chads _ team champs, whatever it was, and they put up that meme. I think it was like Mourinho, like fully celebrating.
Yeah.
It was like, I think the caption was like, us cashing in our check, or whatever. And I always
Yeah,
share
yeah.
that on the Team Champs page, basically saying like every good story or every good storyline needs a villain, and it's like they're leaning into
Yeah.
that role, which is nice. Like I do like, and I think even in your meme, you're kind of like, to yourself, it's like I like this. It's like I do, man. This is
Yeah.
good. We want
Dude, you're
drama.
loving it. It's
We
just
want storylines.
yeah. And that's the thing. I've always had fucking dreams of just powerlifting going into that direction of just creating a story. Just, you'd be really surprised with how many sports do that. How many, it's not as obvious as, boxing, UFC, WWE and stuff like that, but it's there, it's present. There's always there's always that backstory. There's always this is why this person wants to beat this person and stuff like that. So look, I appreciate them. I really do appreciate them. And I appreciate the fact that they're playing the villain role well. So got to give them a mad shout out.
No, I do love that, and no, you're right. It's such a critical part of sports promotion. I've said this in previous podcasts. I've had these types of conversations many times before, and the thing is, in order to have a storyline, there has to be an ongoing process and an ongoing event, and there has to be history and beef and whatnot.
Yeah.
And it's very hard to create that in a sport like powerlifting because competitors compete so infrequently. There isn't this kind of like this. A lot of lifters, for example, especially at more local and intermediate levels, they don't last very long. Like they might only ever get 5 comps in their whole career. It happens a little bit at Worlds, like like world level. You see like the same lifters turning up every year, and they go, "Oh, this guy lost last year to this person." So it's a small storyline thing, but the thing is, the storyline can also be created in the same event, in the one event, which is what all the posts on Instagram are trying to do, and like these podcasts, we're trying to have these conversations, and yeah, no, I'm glad that you're on the same. You got the same mentality as me in that sense, because I'm not going to go start ruffling feathers, but I'm glad that you're doing that.
Oh, look, I'll probably be making a couple more memes in the next few weeks, so just watch out for those.
Okay. All right, I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Now, you guys you have a pretty good team that are competing on this day one. You said there might be some swaps, so I'm not going to ask for any kind of exclusive information or whatnot. But what I will ask is, what are the classes or the categories that you see as being potential targets on that day one? Because, I look at, so for example, the 67 women's, that is a very tough class, but a lot of the talent in that class are on day two. Similarly, in 82 class, like that Maddie Keogh is competing in, again, competitive class, but a lot of that talent is on day two. Are there gaps on day one? Are there gaps in the challengers bracket that you think could be potential places to exploit?
Yeah, that was a fantastic question, actually, because we did consider those things when we were making our team. Like, when I mentioned, oh, we should put this person in there in the 82s or the 67 females or whatever. And, Eddie or Jaden would say, oh, no, that's too stacked. And then we look into it further and we're like, wait a second, they're all on, they're all in the better division. So should we still put them in there? So there were considerations that we made. But in terms of, targets, 100%, if people could go down weight classes or go up weight classes, they will. It depends on obviously where they are. Because I'm looking right now, like you got the 67 males. They could totally, someone could totally try and go down to 60s or something like that. We don't know what is going through right now, what they're doing currently. It could be someone in the 75s and they're like currently going through a cut and they're just secretly doing that in the background, or even the 82s going up to 90s, because the 90s right now are currently not as stacked as the 82s are. So, and I remember you saying that where people, or is it Vinay, I think it was, where people should play it smart, where if you think that you're not going to do well in that class and you have a chance of going back or forward in up and down a weight class, do so, because that's just going to put your team up. So I think, currently maybe like 75 females, probably the heavier weight classes in the female division. So there's 75s, 82s, 100s. If someone has an opportunity to do so, they will strike like that, and it will probably be for those classes, it's for those division, for the first division, first day, that they will do so in terms of the females. But in the male classes, it is quite kind of spread out. Yes, the heavier ones aren't as populated, but because you've got the gap between 110 to 125 or 125 to 140, it might be a lot harder for those guys to do so. So they probably won't. Versus the classes like the 82s going up to 90s or the 82s going down to 75s, that's probably what they're going to be doing. So it's not necessarily that they're going to get a new athlete in to cover those weight classes. It's probably that they're going to have someone who's currently in a class that they could easily go up or down. They're going to do that, and they're currently doing that. 100%. There's going to be more than
It's
one
like the
person
same
doing
lifters,
that.
but moving classes.
Yeah, I think that's what they're going to do, because it's probably unless you've got a really, really stacked roster, it's probably the smartest play to do that. Where you talk to someone in the 82s and you say, "Hey, you're currently 86 kilos or something like that. You're 12 weeks out. Let's kind of play around with it. It looks like the 90s are going to be not as stacked, so I reckon let's make your calories either a maintenance or increase your calories to make sure that you can, if you need to, go up to those 90s, versus the other people who are weighing the 83 and they're like, okay, stay around 83. We might keep you on the 82s, but let's put you down if we need to, So it's probably the smartest play you can do, where you have that person who can go up or down. It is a lot harder for some of the guys in the heavyweight classes, because, some of those guys have worked hard to get into those weight classes. They worked hard to eat up to be in the 110s, 125s. So it might be a lot harder for them to go down over a 12-week period. But for those guys in the middle of the weight classes, the 82s and stuff like that, it's probably a lot easier for those guys to do so, and they probably will do that.
Yeah, I'm wondering, because obviously the changes are due at 3 weeks out, and I just know that on the last minute I'm just going to get a bunch of emails, like literally that night. I'm just going to get 10 emails saying, "Hey, we're making these changes. Hey, we're making these changes. Hey, we're making
good
these
luck
changes."
with that, man.
I'm curious. I'm curious if there's going to be a lot of changes. Like if there's going to be an overcompensation. Like imagine if 5 of the 82s swapped to 90s, and now all of a sudden the 90s is the more stacked class. Like I'm not that I'm saying that it's going to happen, but I just wouldn't be surprised if that were to happen. But I do agree with your point that I think most of the changes will be lifters shifting classes rather than new lifters coming in, because I think it's just hard to swap lifters out so much. And like you said, if teams don't have huge rosters, they might not have such a big pool of people to pull from. Look, we could keep talking all day. I want to move on. I want to ask about your predictions about the Challengers bracket, your predictions about the Premier bracket, any hot takes, any dark horses, any surprises that you're expecting. Lay it to us.
Yeah, is this for the Premier bracket?
Both. So let's go Challengers bracket. Yeah. Who's gonna win and who's gonna be promoted, and then overall who's gonna win the whole thing. Maybe top 3 placings, any hot takes, whatever it might be.
Oh, this is going to be so hard. Look, I got it. You did ask for a dark horse, and I'm going to call them out. Ballarat, I don't think they're spoken enough about. They have a formidable team. Like they have really strong lifters, plus a really good placement of Jace in the 140 plus. So I think not enough people are looking out for those guys. So really keep an eye on them. I reckon that I couldn't give you an order of who's going to place where, except for the Chads winning Div 2. But I reckon Ballarat is definitely going to be up there in the placements. So look, in terms of Div 2, I reckon the Chads, Ballarat, I couldn't really decide between Avia, Panthers, and Paragon, but I reckon I'm going to give it to Avia. Look, I just got to give it to them. Like they're good team. They're a formidable team, and especially with Emily Kano going in there, I reckon it's going to be a really good comeback for Avia to come into this competition. But I reckon for Div 2, the Chads, Ballarat, and Avia. In terms of Div 1, I reckon the Chads are going to in Div 1, I reckon it's going to be MSC, Apex, and Louis lifts. But in terms of overall, I think it will be MSC, Apex, and the Chads are definitely going to place in there. I don't know if they're going to win overall. Look, they definitely have a chance to win overall, but I don't know if they will. So, but they will definitely place top 3 overall on the day.
Yeah, I mean, like that seems to be a bit of a question: is can they win the whole thing from day one? It would be a very big ask, and I mean, the classes that some of those boys are lifting in are just so stacked that the lifters on day 2 are just going to have that, like the Premier bracket are just going to have that advantage of being like, cool, like who is competing against Remy? Is it like Hung or whoever? It's like he's just going to pick him off by 2 kilos, and Jacob Skepis is going to have the chance to just pick off Josh, assuming he's physically capable, just 2.5 kilos here and there. So it'll be hard, but like it's interesting. So MSC to win, importantly, and Apex in second. Not surprised about Apex, but they haven't been spoken about as much. I do like your
Yeah.
take on Stronghold Ballarat, those being a bit of a, not an underdog, but yeah, a bit of a
Dark horse. Yeah.
a
They're not
smoky
spoken
kind
about.
of, yeah,
They're
like
not
not enough
spoken
people
about
spoken
enough.
about there.
Yeah. Nah, 100%, dude. Like,
Excellent.
yeah.
Go.
That's right. That's right. You go.
Yeah, no, all I was going to say is thanks for your time, mate. It's we've run a little bit over time, but I
That's right.
appreciate
No
you,
stress.
taking the time out of your day and going through your thoughts and your excitement. I can feel your enthusiasm and excitement for this comp, and I appreciate it because it's all I want is everyone to have a good time. And can really feel you guys leaning into the event. And like you said, you got a bit of beef with 3PP, David Barros. There's this nice kind of like little semi rivalry going on there, but it's been really good to see, and I'm glad that you're having a good time preparing.
Yeah, look, I'll leave one more hot take. In 3PP, the only people that are going to place is Alex and Jess. Dennis and Eddie, they're not going to place. I'm just leaving it there.
Okay. All right. You've heard it here. The call out has been made. I'm going to mark that as a clip, and that's going straight onto Instagram.
Fuck yeah.
No, thanks for your time, mate. I really appreciated it. And
No stress.
good luck with the rest of your training. Hope to see you come down and visit TSF the next few weeks.
Fuck yeah. Can't wait, bro. Really, really keen. Thanks for this.